Hey everyone, today I'm going to show how to set up a simple screen shake effect. In my case, I'm applying it only to the HUD, not the game world. I find applying it to the game world to be a little bit annoying when I'm playing games. So this is going to shake just the HUD, and it's doing it in a dynamic way. So the more impact force my player experiences, the more the HUD is going to shake. So you'll see it here jumping from a pretty high spot. It will shake quite a bit. And if I come over here and jump off of a small ledge, it shakes just a little bit. So let's get into how that's done. In my HUD, which is a control node that has all of my visual HUD elements, I am actually handling the shaking itself. And in my player script, I'm handling the change in velocity that the player is experiencing, which triggers the screen shake. So let's go through the HUD first. I've got this screen shake strength variable, which is basically going to be the maximum that your screen shake is going to reach. So like if you fall a really far distance, if your character's going really fast, you're still only going to get this much screen shake. You're basically going to get a value between 0 and this value, depending on how high you've fallen from. The screen shake fade speed is going to be how long it takes for the screen shake to go back to 0, like leveling out. Then I have a chromatic aberration shader. You don't have to do this part. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but this is just to show that you can also drive a shader parameter from your screen shake if you want to do any other visual effects or anything to that effect. And then I've got this local variable, shake strength. This is going to control the actual shake itself. This is the value that's going to get set to a higher value than 0, and then driven back towards 0 to kind of have the tapering off effect of going from a lot of screen shake down to 0 again. So in our process function, we're going to check to see if the shake strength is greater than 0. Right now it's 0. It's going to be 0 most of the time. But if it ever gets set to higher than 0, then we know we need to apply some screen shake. So we're going to then take our screen shake variable. We're going to subtract the fade speed times delta. So it's going to start moving back towards 0. Then we're going to set the position of the HUD to this random offset. So we're going to move it between the shake strength in the negative and the shake strength in the positive in the X and Y coordinates, and it's going to kind of jitter it around the screen. Then I've got this code, which is just setting the shader parameter for my chromatic aberration. You can see here that the shader parent, in my case, is this sub viewport container, which has my shader on it. I'm modifying the chromatic intensity variable here. Then, if the screen shake is less than 0 now, so we're going into the else, the shader parameter, I'm just setting the chromatic aberration back to what I want it to be at, a base value. So this is where you'd put anything else here that you maybe changed while the screen was shaking. You can set it back to default. So then how do we actually apply the shake? So right now, this is just going to be checking all the time, but this shake strength is equal to 0. So we have this apply shake method in the HUD, which takes in a strength modifier. I could just pass in the flat screen shake strength here in this function, but I find it easier to visualize having kind of a maximum screen shake like this, 5, and then depending on how far you fall or how much damage you take or however you want to apply your screen shake, you can pass in a different modifier. So if you pass in a value of 1, it's just going to do the max, and if you pass in a value of 0.1, then it's going to do like 10% of the max. So you can modify the strength with this modifier value. So first we're going to calculate a new shake. So we're going to take our default shake strength and we're going to multiply it by our modifier. Then we're just going to check to make sure that the shake strength is not being overwritten by a smaller value. So the new shake should never be smaller than the current shake that we're experiencing. Otherwise, it'll look weird. The large amount of shake that we're experiencing could be instantly reduced to a small amount of shake. If we, for instance, take a bunch of damage and then take a small piece of chip damage right afterward, it would remove all of the shake that we were experiencing from the large piece of damage. So now let's look at the player script. So here we've got the screen shake actually being applied depending on how much impact or say damage your character takes. So this value here is going to be the minimum, in my case, speed difference, since I'm doing it based on player impact. This is going to be the difference in player speed at which we apply screen shake, and this is going to be the maximum of that value. And then this is going to be the same basically we're going to be taking a value that's between these two numbers and we're going to be remapping it to be between these two numbers. So a value of 7 would remap to 0.4, a value of 14 would remap to 1. And then somewhere in between here would also be somewhere in between here. So the ScreenShake mod that we're looking at here is actually the value that's going to plug into here, the strength modifier of the HUD script. So then we also have this value, which is tracking the velocity every frame. It's going to keep track of the velocity from the previous frame. This handle screen shake method is running in my process function on my player. My player script is huge, so I'm not going to get into where that's being called from, but basically in your process function of your player, you would put this and it would run every frame. You pass in the delta value. The first thing it does is it calculates the difference between the previous speed and the current speed, and then finds the absolute value of that so that it's not negative. Then if the difference between our speeds is greater than the minimum speed difference that we're looking for, it's going to apply the screen shake. So if it's not greater than 7 in this case, it's not going to apply any screen shake, but if it ever gets above 7, it will. If the difference is greater than the speed difference minimum, then we're going to calculate our strength modifier, which again is going to be plugged into this strength modifier shake. So the strength modifier, we're going to use this handy remap function to take the difference we calculated, which currently is going to be some value greater than 7, and we're going to remap it from a value between these two values to a value between these two values. Sometimes this is going to end up being higher than 1 because if you are traveling really fast, right now we're not saying that it can't be higher than 14. Like this difference value could be greater than 14. So then after we calculate using the remap, we're going to do a clamp just to make sure that our strength modifier is between 0.4 and 1. So if we are ever higher than 14 here, it won't end up giving us a value higher than 1. We'll still just cap it at 1. Then we're going to go to our HUD, and we're going to apply the shake with our shake method. And last but not least, every frame, we also have to make sure we track the previous speed using the velocity's length. Just to recap now, this strength mod is going to be repassed back into here that we were looking at earlier. The apply shake method is going to be called right here. And it's going to calculate and set our shake strength to that modifier that we just found. And then the process function in our HUD is going to every frame apply that shake and slowly reduce the shake back to 0. I hope this was useful for you. Thanks.